Yeah, this is Bang Bang Rahal. I met a guy years ago in a pub called the Anchor, down Bollywood Road. Uh, Geezer's got tattoos all over his hands, and a right, a right dangerous man. I know I always say that people are dangerous, but he is dangerous. A guy called Gibbs, yeah. I met him years ago in a place called Stanwell by the airport. Um, went there to talk to him about some business. And this guy, I mean, he was away with the Krays. He's been away with everybody. Whoever there is, he's been away. But what Pete used to love, he used to love sulfate. Sulfate was his thing. I mean, he would take that all day long, sulfate. He was buzzing 24/7 on sulfate, telling me stories about the Krays and bits and pieces and the Richardsons and Billy Hill and all them sort of people. He said to me, and I'm sure it was, I don't know, that he smashed the Krays to pieces. He bashed them. They was petrified of him. I think he got 20. I think he got 21 years for shooting three guys on a train over a robbery. I think he shot them. I mean, they was all in such a bad critical way that the judge gives Peter Gibbs 21 years. But this guy, not only was he dangerous in that respect, he was a fantastic forger. He could forge any painting, mate. He was fantastic. And what he was very good at was doing signatures. He could forge any signature. I mean, he had a paint. He could do a painting, and what he used to do also was glass, and it used to get proper nice glass and put the leak on it. And he was just fantastic at doing things like that, yeah. And as a fraudster, yeah. And pictures, he had about, I don't know, 20 of the Krays pictures. I mean, they didn't even make 20 pictures, but he used to forge them, yeah? Forge the Krays pictures and put their signatures on the bottom and sell them. There's a lot of Krays pictures going about that he's done, yeah? But he, I mean, I went to see him a couple of times in Istanbul, yeah? A couple of times, you've got to be so careful of meeting him in places like that, yeah? There's all woods and everything going about where he was, yeah? And I'm not joking, he would fucking shoot you. He would blow your head off, yeah? If he thought there was any threats there, any danger, and he was a little bit paranoid because of the sulfate, so you had to be a bit careful when you went there. You had to make sure that you knew you was coming, you know? And in them times, there wasn't so much mobile phones, either was sort of about today, yeah? So it was quite hard to get in contact with him. But I did used to get in contact with him, but I was always wary when I went down and see him. Anyway, before I went away for the IPP, I went to see him, and I went to see him about a grow, yeah? And he had, down there, he had a barn, a massive great big barn, and he had these big tents in the barn, and he had about, he had about 5 garages, yeah? This place was owned by a sheikh. It went derelict, the place went derelict in Stanwell. It's massive. Now, it's absolutely massive, this place. And he was like, what can I say? He wasn't a caretaker, but he sort of might look after it, yeah? But Winston Churchill used to go down there, and when he was feeling a bit a bit under the weather, he used to go down and relax in his place in Stanwell, yeah? And he had about 5 garages as well, yeah? Every garage in there was full up with green. I couldn't believe it, mate. I couldn't believe it. This is before I went away. And he was getting fortunes. I mean, he had the electric all done, he had everything all done. He was getting fortunes, Peter. But he's very greedy. He's a greedy man. He wants too much for what it is, yeah? And as I say, but he used to plot up. He couldn't have got a better person to look after your parcel, you know what I mean, than him. He used to plot up, mate. And I mean, if people come down to dodgy Peter, he would shoot you without a shadow of doubt. He would shoot you. He was so dangerous, Peter. There's a lot of people out there who know Peter Gibbs. but I loved him. I loved him for what he had. He had lots of guts. He had lots of. He didn't care for anybody. Yeah, and them sort of people are hard to find. You know what I mean? He just didn't care for anybody at all, mate. He was like business, 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 business. And when he showed me what he had, he was a little bit frightened, really, at the end of it all. He said, "Don't you get coming down here, Ray, thinking you can nick what I've got here. It's not mine, but don't you think you can come and nick this? Because when I say it's not mine, it's part mine, yeah? Don't think you can come down here one late at night and nick all these things that I will blow your head off." I mean, leave off, Pete. He said, "I will take your head off your shoulders, mate. Don't worry about that." And he had a dog. He had this dog, a cross staff dog. And that was a vicious little thing as well. But from the roadway, you'd never know it was there, yeah? From the roadway, you'd never know it was there. It was a little road, went over a little bridge. You had a great big, massive stream in there with big carp in there, you know? And people used to go fishing, but they had to pay Peter the money to go in this lake, you know, big, massive carp in there. And as you go over the bridge, go down a big yard, a massive, great big driveway, trees either side, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. You can imagine Winston Churchill there, you know, just there, and relaxing, too much pressure, just going down there. And Peter was telling me that when he actually went in there to look after the gaff, to mind it as such, yeah. The people that actually owned it is it was this sheikh something, but they'd give it to the council or they give it to someone, but he got all of these people to look after this place, yeah. In the garages, right, before he put all this stuff in it, was all old wagons, you know, the old-fashioned wagons. You know, used to use of pictures. You see pictures of old-fashioned women in the back of these wagons. That's what he had in there. I never seen none of it. I mean, that's what he told me he had in there. I mean, he must have got a fortune at that place. He must have got a fortune. I went up one day. I went upstairs one day to the flat upstairs. He had loads of flats. There's about 8, 9 flats upstairs. But where all the servants used to live, you know. For those to get all the carriages ready for the king and the queens and all that. Used to live, big parties there. And we used to have massive parties there. It's in Stanwell. As you go around all Stanwell Village, you'll see a big gate there, a massive big gate, yeah. And there's a house there, is the gate lodge, yeah. But they used to go through there to the big house, massive house. But now they've took it down. They took it down for a reason. I think I forget the name of the people that do it. The people that do it, they do gravel. It's a big company. It's an Irish company. They do a lot of gravel in there, yeah? And they've took most of the ground over. I think they're not quite sure they own it all. They only Kappa. That's it, Kappa. Kappa own it, yeah. And I don't think they own all of it. They only own certain parts of it, yeah. But when you go behind the big barn that Peter had there full of gear, you go behind there. It's a massive, great big dredge. It's dredged, yeah, deep. That is so deep. The water's blue, you know, like really blue. That's how deep it is, yeah. And a couple of times I've been there, I went to Peter, I mean, put body down in, Peter. He went, "There's a few down there, boy, don't worry about that." He flipped the life out of me. I went, "Leave off, Peter." Only joking, you know what I mean? He flipped the life out of me, mate. But, yeah, I went down there a couple of times to earn some money, actually, before I went away. And what it was, in the very back of it, there's these walls, massive walls that used to go around the place, yeah? And all these walls, you got stocks, the bricks, really old stocks. I mean, really old. I mean, they're worth, I don't know, £3-4 each, these stocks, you know? And I decided it'd be good for me to get there and start doing it, you know, with a mattock and chisel and hammer and bolsters and knocking them out and cleaning them up and stacking them all up, yeah? I must have stacked 10,000-15,000 of these bricks up, yeah? I'm not joking, yeah? Stacked them all up, and Peter is so slippery, mate. He's so slippery. I went back one day. I left it there for about a week. I went back one day. He said someone's been there and took all the bricks. I went mad, man. I went mad. It was about 2 weeks of work I done. You know what I mean? But I know it was Peter. I got him around the neck, mate. I got him around the neck. Want to choke him. Want to choke the life out of him. You know what I mean? But the geezer was, I mean, honest. He was really, really dangerous, Peter. I mean, I've tried to Google his name, Peter Gibbs. Yeah. I can't really get it up. But I was told he got 21 years. He got 21 years for shooting. Got 3 guys on a train. Yeah. That took the piss, and it was a robbery. It was a robbery, but they also took the piss. It was something funny. But the judge gave him 21 years. And when you talk to him, I used to sit down and talk to him about the Krays and all that. He said, the Krays are nothing, mate. He said, I battered them. He said, I battered Ronnie and Reggie, mate. They're nothing. He said, they're nothing. He said, there wasn't anybody in there that frightened me. And Peter Gibbs was proper handful. He can really march on with him as well, yeah. He was a good fighter, mate, a good proper fighter. He said, they never bothered me. And his body, right, when he took his shirt off, he must have been stabbed up, God knows how many times. He showed me a lot of that he's been done in prison with pencils. He's been done in prison with razors. I mean, this guy, his body's absolutely ripped to pieces with scars, yeah, where he's been stabbed up and all that in prison. He told me that the Krays to him was nothing, yeah. He said, Ray, that was nothing, mate. He said there was people that everyone was frightened of, but when they got in there was nothing. They had a lot of people wrapped around them, but he said there was nothing. He said, my name's Peter Gibbs. He said, and I'm telling you, there were nothing. He said, they never frightened me at all. He said, they was absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? And I think he knows him. The guy who was in Winchester, is he Wakefield now? What's his name? Bronson. I think Bronson knows Peter Gibbs. I'd like to maybe get a message to Bronson because Peter Gibbs done the exact same thing as Bronson. He should draw things like that. But he showed me some, Peter Gibbs showed me some pictures that he'd done. When I went to his place, he had untold pictures of, as I said, of the Krays. He had untold glass and all that sort of thing that he used to do the leak. Pictures that he used to sign up and paint up. This geezer was a fantastic forger. But, you know, as a forger, you think he was just a forger, but he was dangerous. He was a very dangerous man. I'd love people to, from over that way, Stanwell that way, yeah, to let me know about him. I got a message from someone to say that he was always fighting travellers, Peter. He didn't care for travellers at all. Travellers, because where that is, Stanwell, yeah, there's loads of travellers around that area, and he said he was always fighting them. He said they never frightened me, right? He said I wasn't fighting no travellers, mate. He said they wanted it, they'd get it, you know what I mean? And he had handguns, he had more handguns around him than anything. I was more petrified, you know, to be with him at certain stages, you know what I mean? Because when I come out of my IPP, I went down and see him a couple of times, yeah, and just to have a talk, see how he was, you know. I'll give him some money, you know. Took him to a big cafe in Stanwell, sitting down talking to him with a few people I know, and you know, he was just stories. His stories were fantastic, even though I've got loads of stories myself, yeah, about prison and all that. But his stories are more about the Krays and Billy Hills and them sort of people, you know. And you think to yourself, is it Jack Spot and all that little firm? And they had more stories about them than Richardson's. He was telling me about Fred Rondell from Queensway. Fred Rondell I've already said it a long time ago. Fred Rondell's a Russian. He won a gold medal in the Olympics years ago. Short, stocky, what was the Russian? Short stock, but he used to eat raw food. And I was talking to Peter Gibbs about Freddie Rondell and about the Krays and about this, that and the other. He went, let me tell you something, Ray. He went, Freddie Rondell, right, is one of the hardest men that I've ever met in my life. And for Peter Gibbs to say that, to give Freddie Rondell that respect, this Freddie Rondell had to be some sort of person. Freddie Rondell come from Queensway. He didn't actually come from Queensway, but he had all his stalls in Queensway, yeah. He done a lot of ice cream. He done lots of fruit and vegetables. Short, stocky beard, talk like that, like that. Got done for Spaghetti Siege. He's one of the ones that got done for the Spaghetti Siege, if you check him out easy. He run Queensway. He run the spills. There was a lot of spills. There was one spill there. He had a stall right outside the spill. He run the spills. No one much about him, mate. He was like, just run it. He just run the spills. I mean, anybody in trouble, Freddie Rondell, get him out. But he run it. There was all his spills, yeah. All round Queensway, there was Freddie Rondell spills. And no one messed with Freddie Rondell. And Peter Gibbs, and he said, Freddie Rondell, mate, he said, when Billy Hill and that little firm and the Krays were getting bullied Billy Hill, right? Freddie Rondell said to them Krays, you come down to Queensway, mate, and you're going to go back in a wooden box, a pine box. And he meant that. And I'm telling you, there's no way that little firm would have gone down to Queensway and tried to take over. Because Freddie Rondell and his people, mate, they were more dangerous than the Krays could ever be. People must know this guy, Freddie Rondell. And Peter Gibbs was telling me, he was saying to me, listen, when I got in prison and met Reg and Ronnie, he said, they were very, very I am, yeah? He said, but put it on them, you put it on them and their arseholes fall out because they had no help, mate. They had no help. Outside, okay, they was together 24/7, but outside they had plenty of help. They had plenty of soldiers wrapped around them, 20, 30 soldiers. In prison, all them soldiers are gone. All them soldiers are out in different nicks. Do you know what I mean? All moved around. He said, so they never had their soldiers. And he said, when I put it on them, they shit themselves. He said, when I went in the cell with them, they shit themselves. He said, I'm telling you, my name's Peter Gibbs. He told them. He said, my name's Peter Gibbs. He said, I will smash you two to pieces. I'll stab you up. I'll stab you up when you're in your fucking bed. And he meant it, and they shit themselves, mate. He shit themselves. Please check Peter Gibbs out. I've tried to find him, Google him. I can't find him. He died about, 4 years ago? Someone told me, and what I was told, he'd already had 2 or 3 heart attacks, yeah? They gave him this stuff to put under his tongue, to spray under his tongue when he had an angina attack, yeah? But he kept using it all the time and it weren't taking effect. And he just died, they've said he died in pain, yeah? Because he just couldn't move. He just couldn't move. He was just in a bad way. He was so much pain. They reckon he must have been in so much pain. But you can imagine, And when they went into his place, when they went into his house, his flat in Stanwell, it's only because people have been phoning him, have had no reply from him, and the dog was yowling. The dog hadn't been fed. The dog loved him. Obviously, the dog must have, yelped for days. And they busted the door down. The smell was unbelievable, but they couldn't believe what they found. They found about 30 watches in his place. He was such a good fraudster, mate. He had they reckon he found more Petit Philippe's, they reckon they found 20, 30 Petit Philippe's in there. Petit Philippe's, Rolexes, something Guston, is it? Pacha Guston or something. They found loads and loads of watches, but all his watches was repos, yeah? And he was fantastic at doing that. I mean, if you got a watch off him, Petit Philippe or any watch of him, you'd never know that it was a Reebok. Never know. You wouldn't know. He was just so good at it. The only time you'd know is if you took it to a jeweler's to get it fixed. There was nothing else wrong with it. You put it up to your ear, you couldn't hear it ticking. Fantastic. He gave me a Petit Philippe. How long? I've been out of prison for 10 years. He gave me a Petit Philippe 9 years ago. I'll give it to my son. Right? My son's still got it, and it's never ever broke down. It's never caused no problems. I phoned him up. I said, "Can you hear ticks in it?" He went, "No, Dad." He said, "No, and I have it by my bed." He said, "I can't hear no ticks." My boy, he's got the Petit Philippe that I give him. I love my J. Anyway, and then Peter, when he had all that green before I went away, he was doing it. I mean, he was doing it before I went away. I went away. When did I go away? 05, 04, something like that, was it? He was doing it then, growing then. But he was big. I mean, he was growing big grows. I mean, there was 4 or 5 of these garages. I mean, and he had that great big barn full of tents in there, full of gear in there. He had so much stuff in there. It was unbelievable. And I say he got very greedy. That's what I was told. He got very greedy. He wanted too much out of it. And then in the end, people just went, "Nah, let's leave it out. I don't want the aggravation." It's a fantastic place to do your grows. All your electric sorted out and all that. But fantastic place, but you can't trust him, mate. He just wants to sell everything and get better profits. And when I went down there just to see him, he was just the same. He was the same as what he's always been. 80 years of age, and he's never grown up. You know what I mean? He's like myself in a way. I've never really grown up. All the bird I've done, yeah, it cocoons you, and I think he done a big bit of bird. He got 21 years, I think. He's done a big bit of bird out of that. I say he was always causing problems, and a lot of people have got his photo. A lot of people have got his pictures that think it's a Krays. That ain't the Krays. A lot of people think they got paintings from the Krays, and it ain't the Krays. He sees what he done. He's duplicated them. He's fantastic at what he did. Yeah, I loved old Peter. I really loved him a lot. Yeah, but he was dangerous. He was a dangerous person I mean, you couldn't go nowhere with him. You know what I mean? He was like, even when he was 75, 80 years of age, you know, when we took him to the calf, he's always sitting down and growling. That face, his all growling face, because he is dangerous. He is dangerous. That is why I mean, come on, he's 80 years of age. You think, yeah, I could just smash him to pieces. Maybe you could. But you couldn't turn your back on him, mate. You couldn't go in that place again. You couldn't be walking down the road and he sees you, because he'd run you over, and then he'd get out and he'd stab you to death. That is what Peter was. It was just, that's why his body was full of scars. He's been stabbed up a lot of times, and I believe, I don't know how true it is, I believe he got shot in the leg, because he limps. He did limp a bit, Peter. But I remember there was another guy called Wiggy Purdy, yeah? Wiggy Purdy, he was one of the only men to get out of Parkhurst. Wiggy Purdy, yeah. And he's the only first guy ever to do a post office van. Rob it. They reckon. I think he actually took the post office van, I'm not quite sure. They reckon when they found him, Wiggy Purdy, in a caravan, they reckon the caravan was full chock-a-block of letters. It was Christmas time. He was just going through the letters for all the money, yeah? Wiggy Purdy. Got a beard. This geezer, he told me about Peter Gibbs a long time ago, Wiggy. And I seen Peter Gibbs down the pub. Wiggy Purdy was. It seems to me that all the people that done like places like Parkhurst and them sort of places was always into paintings. I don't know what it was. The Krays into paintings, Peter Gibbs into paintings, Wiggy Purdy right into paintings. Wiggy Purdy used to do palette knives, yeah? He used to do the palette knives. And Wiggy Purdy was so fit. He was so fit. He used to run up drain pipes. I used to see him climb up drain pipes and do handstands and walk around down the road. Handstands. He had like black girls. He used to love black girls. And he had a beard. And I love Wiggy, mate. I love Wiggy Purdy so much. You know, he's a nice old boy. He told me about Peter Gibbs. He told me about Peter Gibbs, how dangerous he is. Wiggy Purdy was round me, what? I don't know, every day. Wiggy Purdy was an old man, but I looked after him like a dad. My dad died, and I got hold of Wiggy, and I just looked after him, mate. Give him money every day, make sure he had his cigarettes. He loved the black girl. He loved the black girl. He was a dirty old fucker. I mean, I remember before I went away, I met this half-caste girl over at Shepherd's Bush, and I brought her back to Wiggy Purdy's place. She was beautiful, mate. And there's me on the floor giving her a portion, and there's Wiggy at the door. He couldn't do enough looking at me, Wiggy. Love his heart, you know. I loved him, man, old Wiggy Purdy, but he did tell me big time about Peter Gibbs. He said Peter Gibbs was a very dangerous man, right? And Wiggy Purdy could have a row, mate. Wiggy Purdy could have a fight, the old boy. Or it seems to me all the old boys could have a fight. There was a few guys around my way, old boys. Kit Carew, Irish Kit Carew, about 5'4". It was as wide as what he was tall. Kit Carew, Irish guy, worked on the roads. I mean, they never had no JCBs in them days, mate. They used to dig the old roads and fill these buckets up, didn't they, and pull them up and all that game, yeah? They never had none of this JCB shit. And he was powerful. He was powerful. He would knock any man out, mate. They was petrified of him in action. Kit Carew. There must be people in Acton on my podcast or my videos that know this guy. Kit Carew, Nosha Powell. Not Nosha Powell. Well, Nosha Powell, I know Nosha Powell very well anyway, but it's not about, I'm not talking about Nosha Powell. There was quite a few. Silly Bevan. This geezer called Silly Bevan. He used to always wear a trilby hat. Right old fighter. Good old boxer. He used to run around throwing punches all the time. In his 80s, that'd be me in my 80s, throwing punches around all the time. Pain in the butt, very crisp, very smart. Always crisp, you know, always brilliant creases in his trousers, nice blazer, tie, hat, trilby hat, but always really smart. There's another guy that I've got. He's on my tip of my tongue. I can't get his name in a minute, but he fought Tommy Farr for the title. This guy, mate, I forget his name, but he could really march on. Acton, he was the governor of all West London. This guy could really what's his name, man? Oh, it's a shame, isn't it? When you think of someone, you think of his name, you think of it, and you just can't get his name. Yeah, I could see him now. Yeah, walking across the road, thick eyes, you know. But this guy could have it, and when you talked to him, you knew the power. You talked to him, the power was in him. Yeah. Anyway, it's not about him; it's about Peter Gibbs. But Peter Gibbs, he died. I didn't go to the funeral. I thought I don't like going to funerals. I don't even want to go on my own, you know what I mean? Anyway, I loved old Peter. I'm trying to get hold of a guy called Tommy Keane. Tommy Keane's got an auction, big auctions house in Oxfordshire. Tommy Keane's a nice fellow, known him years. But Tommy Keane was a very good mate of Peter Gibbs. Peter Gibbs used to give him little jobs to do, help him out here and there. And yeah, I like Tommy Keane. I like the way Tommy Keane looked after Peter when Peter needed it. If Peter needed help, I think Peter Gibbs's girlfriend worked for my mate Tommy Keane as well. But anyway, Peter Gibbs, rest in peace, me old mucker. I mean, he died a terrible way in a way. Died of an heart attack. There was no one else. There was no one there to look after him. And that's what, you know, that's a bit sore, that, you know what I mean? There was no one there to help him out. He couldn't make a phone call. He was just in a bad way, yeah. And they found him days later. The place was stinking, and you know, and that's the worst way to die, mate, isn't it? In pain like that, and just pass away, and no one knows you're even gone. Anyway, this is Bang Bang Ray Hill. If you like the video, just like and subscribe, yeah. But just people out there, must be people out there who know, must be know Peter Gibbs. You know, if you do, comment me, let me know about him, yeah. If you find out about him, let me know, yeah. All right, nice one. Take care, nice one.